Happy Valentine's Day everyone, welcome to the next episode of SpongeBob Now. Today, I will be talking about Welcome to the Chum Bucket and Frankendoodle. First, I'm going to talk about Welcome to the Chum Bucket. Enjoy! On Thursday night at the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krabs tells SpongeBob that he is off to play poker against Plankton in a card game during closing time. He is shocked that Mr. Krabs would risk losing anything to an unscrupulous character like Plankton. Mr. Krabs confidently explains to SpongeBob that Plankton is the worst card player in Bikini Bottom by losing all the card games every Thursday night for 15 years. The next morning, however, Mr. Krabs sadly informs SpongeBob that he lost, and the wager of the card game from the previous night has been SpongeBob's employment, because Mr. Krabs bet his contract. SpongeBob initially thinks that Mr. Krabs is joking, and tries to enter the Krusty Krab, but Mr. Krabs stops him and tells SpongeBob that he no longer works there. A shocked Squidward runs out to confirm the news. A gleeful Plankton arrives to spirit SpongeBob away to the Chum Bucket, all the while laughing and gloating at Krabs' defeat and admitting to deliberately losing the card games in order for Krabs to slip up. At the Chum Bucket, Plankton cruelly orders SpongeBob to make him a Krabby Patty immediately and threatens to remove SpongeBob's brain and put it in a robot version of the sponge if he refuses to obey Plankton's order. However, SpongeBob finds himself unable to work in the Chum Bucket's cold, laboratory-like kitchen and misses the Krusty Krab as Mr. Krabs sadly regrets to losing the card game with Plankton and betting SpongeBob's contract in the first place. Meanwhile, Plankton notices SpongeBob's sadness and starts considering putting his brain in the robot. Karen warns him said idea never works and suggests to Plankton that he must show SpongeBob compassion and understanding. This way, he will give Plankton what he wants. Plankton takes Karen's advice and goes to great lengths to improve SpongeBob's working conditions, eventually converting the Chum Bucket kitchen into an exact replica of the Krusty Krab kitchen. As time goes on, however, SpongeBob begins to catch on to Plankton's ruse, and decides to pull a trick of his own, turning his humble requests into increasingly selfish demands, eventually refusing Plankton's order altogether. After being fed up with SpongeBob's attitude and neglecting to control his temper, Plankton takes out SpongeBob's brain and implants it in the robot, confident that this will now have his order fulfilled. The SpongeBob robot, however, still refuses to make Plankton a Krabby Patty, and Plankton breaks down, finally having enough. Just as Mr. Krabs, still worried about losing SpongeBob, is about to close the Krusty Krab for good, a crying Plankton comes over and begs him to take SpongeBob back, saying that he cannot stand him anymore. Mr. Krabs quickly hides the closed sign and initially refuses, but Plankton begs him and his enemy accepts while asking for money and Plankton gladly complies while admitting that he cheated on the card game anyway. Mr. Krabs then flings a happy crying Plankton back to his restaurant. Afterwards, SpongeBob's brain has been restored, and Mr. Krabs, having forgotten about the card game with Plankton, welcomes him back and encourages him to get back to cooking. SpongeBob fools Mr. Krabs that he still does not feel like working, but when SpongeBob is given one tense glare from Mr. Krabs, he quickly changes his tune saying, I'm working all day for free, my treat. A satisfied Mr. Krabs finishes the episode replying, that's what I thought you said. Next, I'm going to talk about Frankendoodle. Enjoy! As the episode begins on the ocean surface, an artist in a rowboat sketches feverishly. Unfortunately, his pencil slips from his hand and falls into the sea. While screaming, "No," the French narrator states the first rule of the artist at sea, always bring a spare pencil. Down on the ocean floor, SpongeBob and Patrick are playing rock paper scissors, using bubbles when the pencil suddenly lands in between them. SpongeBob and Patrick, at first terrified of the large artifact, start to doodle with it. They soon come to discover that whatever they draw with the pencil is brought to life, and thus dub it the magic pencil. SpongeBob soon draws Doodlebob, a sketch version of himself intended to fool Squidward. However, Doodlebob beats Squidward up and steals the magic pencil, going off to wreak havoc across the seascape. SpongeBob and Patrick attempt to ambush Doodlebob, but fail when he appears too late. SpongeBob eventually turns the tide of battle and uses the pencil's eraser to rub out Doodlebob. Unbeknownst to SpongeBob and Patrick, a lone arm remains, and in the night it steals the pencil back from SpongeBob and redraws its body while adding his angry eyebrows. Doodlebob then attempts to erase SpongeBob, and during the struggle, the the pencil is snapped in half. Doodlebob has the eraser and SpongeBob has the point. However, Doodlebob sharpens his half and SpongeBob accidentally flicks his pencil out of the window at Squidward's head. Doodlebob corners SpongeBob in front of a bookshelf, but steps on a sheet of paper and finds his foot absorbed into it. Seizing his chance, SpongeBob closes Doodlebob in a book, in which the doodle is finally happy. The page with Doodlebob is then framed on a wall. Patrick arrives and listens to SpongeBob's musings on the nature of his doppelganger, taking SpongeBob's photograph for the doodle. Knowing it's too dangerous in the wrong hands, they decide to send the magic pencil back from where it came, shooting it back up to the distraught artist. With his drawing instrument returned, the artist excitedly prepares to begin a new masterpiece, but when the pencil meets the canvas, the lead snaps. Because of this, the French narrator concludes by stating the second important rule of the artist at sea: always bring a pencil sharpener. As the artist screams, "No!" Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos. Goodbye everyone.